Today, on Starfield Essentials, I present my favorite paid creations 2026 edition. I cover 24 creations in 5 categories: quests, factions, POIs, gameplay, and expansions. My name is Richard. Let's get started. Context. Before listing the creations, I want to share my personal biases. First, I prefer the types of paid creations that you see in my 5 categories. I tend to avoid these categories: ship building, outpost building, player homes, massive game overhauls, clothing, and gear. There are wonderful options in all of those genres, but this video doesn't address them. In my 2025 video, I also had these categories: companions, missions. However, I don't really have any recommendations for those in this video. Second, I tend to prefer paid creations that keep Starfield feeling to me like Starfield. I'm not really looking for big overhauls, rebalancing, or other changes. I think one of the strengths of Starfield, and Bethesda gaming in general, is that it is possible to massively change your game. But for me, I'm not looking for that. Third, this is a spoiler-free video. I won't say anything that ruins surprises. I have links to an in-depth review for all 24 creations in the video description. I've also created a playlist for these 2026 favorites. Last, I don't repeat any creations from my favorite paid creations 2025 video. I still like all of those too, so please check out that video linked below for more ideas. Let's turn to our first category: quests. This category gives you something new to do in the settled systems. Barista Sciences Institute. Barista Sciences Institute by TheMilkArtist costs 500 credits. The basic premise of this creation is that the research and development arm of TerraBrew is recruiting candidates. If you sign up now, you'll be a troubleshooter and muscle for the Barista Sciences Institute. It combines a variety of quests, both combat and non-combat, into a creative, cohesive whole. It features high-quality voice acting with fairly interesting NPCs and extensive dialogue trees. I like that the heart of this creation is assisting a corporation that didn't seem as Machiavellian as Ryujin. It took me about 2 hours to complete the main story. Codos Crater. Codos Crater by TheMilkArtist costs 300 credits. You might recognize the name Codos Crater as belonging to a beverage sold in the settled systems. In this creation, Codos Crater is also the name of a brewing settlement on the moon Codos, which orbits the planet Aquila. The premise of the Codos Crater creation, I'll say that 3 times fast, is that the player can apply to work for Filburn Agriculture, the Codos Crater brewer. Like Barista, the player becomes a fixer and hired gun for their employer. The climax of the main quest is a massive battle with the Shaw Gang as they try to disrupt brewing operations. But this is not the end of the creation. There are 2 other side quests, which are also really fun. The first involves trying to retrieve a recipe that has been lost in a card game. The second quest centers on negotiating a dispute over a medicine derived from local flora. Both quests offer an investigation-based set of tasks that can be resolved peacefully. It took me about 2 hours to play the main content. Continuum. Continuum by AlmightySE costs 500 credits. This creation involves tasks to help a mysterious figure named Julian, who is trying to save McClure 2. The story is linear, meaning you have to complete each task in sequence. The tasks are fairly digestible. You won't spend a lot of time on any single one. Almost all of the tasks involve combat, however. There is a scenario that you can resolve without combat. I greatly appreciate having that option. It took me a little under 3 hours to finish this creation. Dreamlands. Dreamlands by Gman4386 costs 400 credits. Dreamlands is a really innovative addition to the game. There are so many hidden details that I plan to play it a 3rd time. The basic premise is that the player finds a way into an altered state called the Dreamlands. There are a total of 10 new dream worlds and quests introduced by this creation. By default, any character can reach 4 of them. Reaching the next 4 requires meeting a set of requirements that I explain in the dedicated video. If you want a weird take on Starfield locations with lots of room for discovery, I highly recommend the Dreamlands. I didn't record my gameplay time for this one, but it's several hours at least. I also plan to return, hopefully this year. Lost Colonies Tirawa. Lost Colonies Tirawa by TheMilkArtist costs 500 credits. The basic premise of this creation is that the UC Department of Health and Human Services asks the player to investigate the crash of a Starfreight logistics freighter. From there, the creation turns into one of my favorite additions to the game. Beyond the main quest, Lost Colonies Tirawa also has several side quests, which immediately catapults it into another category of quality. Tirawa is filled with voice-acted NPCs that make this location seem believable and interesting. The POI design by itself is impressive. It feels like a real small colony. In addition to interacting with NPCs at the colony, you can also perform missions related to the crashed Starfreighter and its escape pods. I really like that the heart of this creation is a rescue mission. This is the sort of work that I think fits well with the hopeful exploration vibe inherent to Starfield. It took me over 2 hours to complete the main story. Lost Colonies Vesta. Lost Colonies Vesta by TheMilkArtist costs 500 credits. I think it's worth every credit, possibly more so than Tirawa, thanks to the longer playtime. The basic premise of this creation is that the UC wants your help hunting 3 war criminals. As you interact with the NPCs on Vesta Prime, you'll acquire other quests. At one point, I had 9 active quests associated with this creation. Vesta combines a variety of quests, both combat and non-combat, into a creative, cohesive whole. It took me over 3 hours to complete all of the primary and secondary quests. Redgrave. Redgrave by TheMilkArtist costs 600 credits. The primary goal of Redgrave is to help a struggling list colony address several challenges. In the process, the player discovers a bigger story with a sizable reward. Redgrave has all the hallmarks of a great MilkArtist creation. First, the voice acting is outstanding. If you've played a previous creation by this modder, you may recognize many of the voices. Second, the characters have extensive dialogue options. Third, there are so many innovative design elements in this creation. Basically, the MilkArtist tries to find ways beyond fighting to challenge the player. It took me about 5 hours to complete the creation, not including any repeatable activities. The Okoro Conflict. The Okoro Conflict by, guess who? TheMilkArtist, costs 500 credits. This creation requires the player to solve a mystery. I really like that angle. If you crave moral ambiguity, the Okoro Conflict has it in buckets. The story allows the character to make choices that matter. Kudos to the NPC design and voice acting. The big bad in this creation has a wonderful backstory, and I'd love to see them return. The POI design is great, unlike really anything I've seen in Starfield. There's a really clever trap at one of them that uses mechanics that aren't seen elsewhere. I love the way the MilkArtist distributes the POIs across the Okoro moons. They also made a clever choice regarding a key POI location. I played the entire creation in about 2 hours. It felt longer because the pacing and activity are excellent. Vigilance. Vigilance by Novafinch costs 600 credits. So, Vigilance. Wow. This creation is so extensive that I had to do a first look video and then a review video. It probably adds one of the biggest dungeons in Starfield. I'd have to look at Forgotten Frontiers 1 and 2 for comparison, but it took me about 2.5 hours to complete all of the activities, and I didn't even explore the whole location. Vigilance offers about 10 quests. They basically involve exploring the Vigilance facility. Novafinch could easily have phoned it in with these quests and expected the player to just enjoy finding new loot in an original setting. Instead, expect some really creative storytelling, and in some cases, fairly disturbing research projects. If you're a person who likes armor and weapons, this creation has definitely got something for you as well. Next, factions. This category adds new groups for you to encounter in the settled systems. Cryomancers. Cryomancers by Zone 79 costs 800 credits on creations. Cryomancers centers on a new faction with specialized weapons and equipment. This is one of the larger creations available because it also adds POIs to the game. These POIs reuse vanilla assets, but Zone 79 has customized them to fit the new Cryomancer theme. Cryomancers also adds a multi-step quest chain centered on 4 large POIs. Each of these new POIs is a dungeon that the player must clear in order to progress the quest. In addition to the core POIs, Zone 79 customized about 20 other POIs that should appear randomly throughout the settled systems. There are Cryomancer variants of spaceships, and you'll enjoy seeing them land to drop off additional troops. Zone 79 has plans for future updates, so I think you'll continue to get your money's worth from this one. Next, POIs. This category adds more places to visit in the settled systems. Jars of Life. Jars of Life, placeable biomes by Modder Tank Girl 444, costs 500 credits. Okay, you caught me. This isn't really a POI creation. It's technically an outpost creation, and I said earlier I don't really buy outpost creations. Well, I sort of use this creation to make pseudo POIs because what it adds to the game is so cool and creative. This mod adds 29 new portable biomes that you can add to your outpost. In general, you can only add 1 per outpost. I think it makes the most sense to use these in desolate locations like airless moons. When you have nothing nearby, a placeable biome makes sense. My full video shows a bunch of them. Tiny Reasons to Explore Space. Tiny Reasons to Explore Space by Ravageron costs 300 credits. This creation adds new mechanics and encounters that fit perfectly with the Starfield vibe. It adds 24 semi-randomized small star stations and 5 landable asteroids, 2 star systems. These locations provide weapons, resources, skill points, XP boosts, and more. You can expect to see them when you travel to a planet's orbit and find ships in combat, debris, or asteroids. The best part about this creation is that it allows you to spacewalk to these new POIs. Starfield needs this in the vanilla game, but until it appears, Tiny Reasons to Explore Space is my go-to creation for space extravehicular activities. Next, gameplay. This category adds or expands game mechanics. Captains Matter. Captains Matter by Korodic costs 100 credits. This creation makes the behavior of a ship captain relevant to a conflict. If a ship captain is eliminated, stunned, or persuaded via the diplomacy skill, then the crew may surrender. Surrender is not automatic. It's governed by probabilities. If the player eliminates a captain and leaves the crew behind, they won't be able to pilot the ship. Oh. If the player accepts a captain's surrender and leaves the ship will grav jump away once the player departs. Yay! Captains Matter also introduces a chance that the captain's locker will be locked. Using a digipick or diplomacy skill will unlock it. Crime Overhaul. Crime Overhaul by Korodic costs 300 credits. This creation adds 3 new types of crime to the game. They are aiming your weapon at a nearby NPC, firing your weapon near a nearby NPC, and indecent exposure. When your character commits a crime in Starfield, any NPC who can directly see the player is added as a witness to that specific incident. Each crime is tracked separately, along with its own associated witnesses, rather than being combined into a single running total. I think this is a fun addition to Starfield, because the vanilla game does not penalize players for brandishing weapons in cities. I don't necessarily think it should be a crime to walk around in your shorts. Crowd Overhaul. Crowd Overhaul by Zone 79 costs 500 credits. A supplementary creation, Starfield Crowd Faces, is free. The purpose of this creation is straightforward. Make the NPCs in major cities more interesting. They look different, dress in fun new clothing, and make Starfield a bit more exotic. This creation covers New Atlantis, Neon, Aquila, and Cydonia. Roll Your Own Start. Roll Your Own Start by Wynterhawk costs 600 credits. Roll Your Own Start takes fast start modding to an entirely new level. The mod drops the new character on a landing pad at the Freestar Militia impound facility on Montero Luna. You're told that you've already collected the first artifact from the mine on Vectera, and your active quest is called One Small Detour. You have 20,000 credits and can spend them by visiting several vendors at the POI. There are 2 other fun options that I'd like to mention. There are Pick a Ship Owner Start and Pick a Pedestrian Start. I highly recommend watching this creation in action in the dedicated video linked below. LSD's New Game Customizer. LSD's New Game Customizer by LySofDev costs 500 credits. This mod starts the character at the Vectera mine with a wake-up scene from the vanilla game. After character creation, there's an abbreviated scene with Lynn and Heller, followed by a set of customization menus. Your character appears to be in the lobby of the lodge, but this is just a temporary location if you choose to manifest elsewhere. Using these menus, you can select apparel, weapons, spaceship, location, inventory, and experience. These are deep menus with many options, but you're only allowed 1 weapon, 1 ship, and so forth. I think this mod is a little overpriced compared to something like Roll Your Own Start, but I can't argue with the number of options given after character creation. Modular Explosive Delivery System. Modular Explosive Delivery System, or MEDS, by Anvil Creation, costs 500 credits. MEDS might be my favorite creation in this entire list. I use it just about every time I play Starfield. MEDS adds 3 new combat options. The first is the ability to remotely detonate static ordnance via a new weapon called a MEDS detonator. The second is an autonomous flying weapon called a MEDS hunter drone. The third is a remotely piloted flying weapon called a MEDS remote drone. All 3 of these systems make use of new ordnance. This is another creation that is best explained by my dedicated video. If you want to uplevel your combat, I highly recommend getting this one. Plunder. Plunder Improved Piracy by Korodic costs 100 credits. This is an enhancement to the vanilla piracy system. In the base game, if you succeed in getting a ship to hand over its cargo, it's all done at a distance via menus. With Plunder, after you convince a ship to capitulate, you can board it. You'll find the captain and crew surrendering. They will only fight if provoked. Spaceship Self-Destruct. Spaceship Self-Destruct by Korodic costs 100 credits. This creation works really well with Plunder. Spaceship Self-Destruct adds a tamper option to the pilot seat on a ship that the player has pacified. Once clicked, it activates a self-destruct mechanism. The player must have rank 1 in demolitions and rank 1 in starship design to make this work. After the player leaves, the ship explodes. Diabolical. Vault Habs. Vault Habs by Korodic costs 200 credits. Vault Habs adds the following habs for your use in building ships. I'm not that interested in custom ship parts, but I bought this creation because it adds these new habs to 5 new ships. It's so fun finding these, especially if you're a pirate. See my dedicated video for examples. Next, expansions. I assign creations which add a lot of content to the game in a single package to the expansions category. More Star Yards. More Star Yards by TheMilkArtist costs 700 credits. This creation adds 13 new star stations to the game. They are all vendors who sell ship parts. These are vendors whose ship parts are offered by shipbuilders in vanilla Starfield, but who otherwise do not have a physical presence in the game. So this mod doesn't add new equipment to the game. Instead, it adds a specific home for each of the 13 other ship part vendors. Here is a summary. Feel free to pause the video. The reason I put more Star Yards in the expansion category is that this isn't just a POI creation. Almost every new Star Yard has an associated quest. There's a ton of fun here, so if you want to see more, please check out the dedicated video. It took me about 3 hours to complete all 12 missions. Sammy and the Lab of Nightmares. Sammy and the Lab of Nightmares by Adam Dunmer costs 800 credits. Sammy is a creation with 2 main plotlines. The first involves a lab on Montero Luna that is experimenting on creatures captured by bounty hunters. As a result of this experimentation, the lab has developed a new neuroamp that allows conversation with creatures. The first plotline revolves around interactions with one of them and rescuing him from further harm. he's got the best accent I've ever heard in Starfield. The first story is okay in my view, but it would not justify the 800 credit price tag. The second plotline builds on this technical discovery, but goes in a completely different direction. If the character finds a cave on the campus of the research lab, it will unlock an incredible subterranean world filled by creatures with whom the character can interact. They've built a feudal society and present something like 6 new quests and many more astounding locations for the player to experience. Sammy made me feel like I was Alice in Wonderland. The tone, sights, and sounds of this creation, specifically in the cave world, take Starfield far into science fantasy or even full fantasy. It took me about 5 hours to complete most of the material. Trackers Alliance Complete. Trackers Alliance, the complete bounty series by Bethesda Game Studios, costs 700 credits. If you like bounty hunting, I suggest you buy Trackers Alliance Complete. This is the updated version of what was originally called the Vulture. That creation only offered 1 quest, but for the same price. Bethesda recently released this massively updated version. It includes the Vulture, plus 5 new original quests. Several of these are just awesome, and all of them are fun. I provided an in-depth review of all of them in my dedicated video. The only downside is that you're likely to fight a lot in these quests, although there can be options to peacefully bring in some bounties. All 7 of the Trackers Alliance missions took me about 7 hours to complete. Conclusion. There's something for everyone with these creations. My only wish is that there were more options for people who did not want to fight. While it is possible to subdue most opponents using EM weapons, I'd love to see creators build more content around puzzles, problem solving, diplomacy, and peaceful skills. Thank you, modders, for giving us so many choices. And thank you to all my subscribers. Please consider subscribing to show YouTube that you enjoy positive and honest Starfield content. In addition to videos, I also post to the community tab for this channel on a daily basis. If you subscribe, you'll see these posts in your YouTube feed. Special thanks to all channel members. I hope you're enjoying our private Discord server and early access to these videos. If you'd like to know more about membership, click the join button on the channel. I use your contributions to pay for drives for capturing footage and to buy every creation in this review. I think I bought every creation. Maybe 1 or 2 I was given a free review copy, but generally I end up buying them anyway because I want to have access to updates. If you made it to this part of the video, please leave a comment with the word survey. Check out my other videos, and please tell your friends about the channel. My name is Richard. I will see you in the Starfield.